You're listening to Revenge Files, the place where ordinary people survive extraordinary betrayals and find a way to set the scales right. If stories like these speak to you, pull up a chair and stay a while. New chapters arrive every week. You can subscribe now so you don't miss how this one turns. Tonight's story is titled, "They Left Me Out of My Daughter's Wedding, so I Bought the Venue and Canceled Everything." I have learned, late in life, that every family keeps two ledgers. One is the public book, the smiling photos, the toasts, the clean accounts of birthdays, graduations. We're fine. The other is the private ledger, scribbled with IOUs no one admits to writing. Small unkindnesses, swallowed pride, the days we chose silence because it was easier than truth. The trouble with a wedding is it forces both ledgers onto the same table. Someone has to pay. When my daughter, Grace, called to say she was engaged, I stood in my kitchen and traced a finger along the old growth rings of the butcher block counter. We had sanded that counter together when she was 12, her hair tucked under a bandana like a factory worker from a black and white film. Dads fix the surfaces, I told her then. Moms make the meals, and kids make the mess worth it. She laughed. She always laughed easily, like she was a step closer to the punchline than the rest of us. The engagement news poured through the phone as if she were pouring water from a jar, clear and bright and just a little rushed, as if she worried it would spill. I told her what fathers are supposed to say. I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you both. Tell him he's a lucky man. And then, because I have always kept my promises in the currency I understand best, I offered to pay for the wedding. Not to buy love or apologies, but to give her a day as free from worry as a sky in June. "Dad," she said, and for a moment she sounded 12 again, sawdust on her cheeks. "That would mean the world. You can fund a day, but you cannot purchase your place in it." The first sign was small. It came in the form of a politely worded email thread I was added to, and then, not quite. The planner, someone with a hyphenated name that suggested soft linens and invoice reminders, thanked the family for prompt deposits. There were attachments, mood boards, floral palettes, lighting concepts, golden hour inside at 7 in the evening. There were group texts, dress fittings, tasting notes, the merits of a 7-piece band versus a well-curated playlist. I was there, at first, a lonely island bubble at the bottom of the screen. Then one afternoon the thread migrated to a new subject line, finalizing guest experience, and my name did not come along. I only learned this because the florist mistakenly forwarded a bill to me. The last line of the message read, "We agree that keeping the aesthetic consistent means simplifying the older side attendance for photos." Older side, a polite phrase the way winter is a polite word for cold. A week later my ex-wife called. Elaine's voice still had that calm, traveling nurse steadiness, the kind that can talk a stranger through breathless pain at 4 in the morning. "This is going to be hard to hear," she began, and there it was. The miracle of marriage continued, our old vocabulary for bad news arriving unannounced. She used words like optics and mood and story, words that used to belong to films, not families. "She's worried," Elaine said, "that with everything, the history, it might be simpler not to have you there during the ceremony." She cleared her throat. "Amanda thinks." Amanda, the stepmother, a woman who arrived in our lives with a smile made of careful angles and the uncanny talent for turning plans into ultimatums. She had a good instinct for how things would photograph. She understood the power of a camera the way some people understand the power of a gavel. "Not during the ceremony," I repeated, tasting each word like a chipped tooth. It's about image, Elaine said. You know how donors are, how his family is. Amanda thinks this keeps the narrative clean. A pause. They're still figuring out the reception. The reception. My first dance with the air. Here is the thing they don't tell you about being a father of a grown child. You are asked to give again and again as if generosity were a bottomless well. Money, patience, advice, silence. And most days you give gladly because love is not a ledger at all. It's breath spent and somehow always renewed. But certain requests create a stillness you do not know how to fill. Please do not come is not a line a father rehearses. I walked the length of my small house, bedroom to kitchen, kitchen to the old garage where my tools lived like veterans, quiet and oiled and waiting for use. I took down the sanding block from its hook and turned it over in my palm. The grit calmed me. If you've ever repaired wood, you know the first pass never feels like improvement. It's just dust in the air and a rougher surface than you started with. You learn to trust the second pass, the third, the slow becoming. I told Elaine I understood. I even thanked her for telling me. When we hung up, I stood in that garage a long time, remembering a little girl in sneakers standing on a step stool, asking if straight was a feeling or a line. We made the counter straight enough for meals, crooked enough to forgive accidents. Families should be built like that, I thought. Plenty of tolerance where plates will fall, days turned into lists. The planner sent forms and contracts to my email because, in the arithmetic of weddings, the payer is still a kind of parent. I read every line. I sent the transfers on time. I said yes to the better band, the nicer chairs, the rain plan. All the while, the message hardened from not during the ceremony to not in the photos to not on the day. It wasn't a decree, not at first. It was the slow drift of a boat whose captain won't admit the anchor was never dropped. Strange, isn't it, what we will underwrite for the people we love? I signed for a night whose stories would speak as if I did not exist. I signed for a toast I would never hear, in a room I funded, beneath lights I approved. I signed for the quiet that would surround my chair at home when the night came and went without me. On the morning the decision hardened into fact, a final contract landed in my inbox with that same gentle certainty of a winter bill. The venue agreement, it said. It listed all the usual stipulations: hours of use, sound ordinances, security expectations, penalties for damage, force majeure. Tucked beneath the legalese was a clause I had added many years ago, when I still believed in precaution more than I believed in fate. It was a clause that allowed for cancellations under specific, privately negotiated terms. Most people would have skimmed it. Amanda did. The planners certainly had. You only notice a lock when you hear it turn. I did not plan revenge. I do not say that to make myself the hero. I say it because I believe in telling the truth when it's hardest. What I planned was a boundary. Boundaries in families sound like cruelty to those who benefit from their absence. That night I poured a glass of water and carried it to the counter we had sanded, my palm resting on the soft wood as if it were a living shoulder. I tried out the words that had been circling me like distant weather. I won't come, I said out loud, but I won't pay for a story that erases me. There it was, straight enough, crooked enough. I slept poorly, the way you do on the edge of an old cliff you once leapt from and survived. In the morning, I rose before the sun and put on the suit I wear to church and courtrooms, places where men are asked to make peace with something larger than themselves. I brewed coffee I didn't drink. I wrote one email and made 2 calls. None of them were to my daughter. You do not knock on a door just to show someone the key in your hand. On paper, I am a silent partner. That is the phrase the lawyers chose years back when we separated assets and built new lives. Silent partner, a man who keeps his name off marquees and his opinions out of press releases. He doesn't want applause. He wants the lights to come on when they should and off when they must. He wants contracts that mean what they say. By 10 a.m., the signatures were where they needed to be. By noon, an automatic notice prepared itself to go out on a certain morning not long from now, should certain conditions not change. I closed my laptop and sat with the odd quiet that follows a decision done correctly. Regret and relief can feel identical if you breathe too quickly. Later, driving through town, I passed the park where Grace learned to ride a bike. There is a place on the path where the asphalt levels out and a child stops wobbling and the father realizes he has been running with an empty hand. You do not call them back. You shout, "You've got it." And then you jog beside, slower than before. That is the real work of love, release performed without spectacle. I went home and waited for evening. The phone did not ring. The sky darkened the way skies do without taking sides. There are stories people tell at weddings about how two families become one. They are lovely stories. They skip the part about how, in the making of a new center, someone else discovers he has been gently relocated to the margin. This is not a tragedy. It is, however, an address you must choose to leave or live in. And so the days ticked down toward a Saturday in June. The dress arrived. The band confirmed. The guests clicked their RSVP and imagined what they would wear. Somewhere on the planner's spreadsheet, the columns added up to a celebration poised to unfold as if I were a generous rumor. And far beneath the formulas and floral renderings, in the sub-basement of contracts where few people ever bother to look, a different set of numbers waited in stillness, as patient as a father at the back of a church that would not have him. There is a peculiar stillness in a man's heart when he realizes he's no longer a main character in the story of his own family. You don't notice it all at once. It arrives slowly, like silence filling a room after the music ends. You stand there, expecting the next note, and when it doesn't come, you understand. The song has moved on without you. That's how it felt as June approached. In the final weeks before the wedding, I became something of a ghost in my own life. People around town, friends, neighbors, the man who cuts my hair, would clap me on the shoulder with bright eyes and say, "You must be thrilled. Grace is getting married." And I would nod, smile politely, swallow my pride like a bitter stone and reply, "Yes, she's all grown up." They didn't know I wouldn't be there. No one knew, because I hadn't told them, because I couldn't say it out loud. To speak, it was to admit that the child you'd loved with your whole chest had decided the shape of her life, no longer had space for your shadow. I watched the preparations unfold from the margins like a stagehand who built the set but wasn't needed for the show. Grace's face appeared on the venue's website, her smile radiant, her fiancé's arm around her shoulder like a ribbon. I saw the venue's Instagram post a series of teasers. Something magical coming this June, golden hour elegance. A love story for the ages. They tagged the florist, the caterer, the photographer, not the father, never the father. It's strange how contracts don't cry, bank transfers don't ask why, and money has no memory, it just moves where it's told. I sat in my study one night, reviewing the updated guest list. Elaine had emailed it to me, not to include me, God forbid, but to keep transparency around event logistics. That was the subject line, not Grace's wedding or final guest count. Just cold, administrative jargon like I was a contractor, not her former husband, not Grace's father. I opened the PDF. It was formatted neatly, of course. Amanda had always been good with design. The names were grouped: groom's family, bride's family, friends, work colleagues, VIP. My name was nowhere, not even under regretfully declined. I wasn't invited to regret anything, but Amanda's name, front and center. Amanda and Elaine seated together just behind the couple, the stepmother and the ex-wife united in aesthetic harmony. A perfect tableau. It would look good in pictures. They had replaced me not just in position, but in symbolism. And that's when I realized this wasn't an oversight. It was strategy, a calculated rebranding of the family unit. Amanda had spent years inserting herself into every family milestone, always just enough to seem helpful. But here, at the biggest moment of Grace's life, she'd claimed the crown. And Grace had let her. There was no way to explain that kind of betrayal to anyone who hadn't worn the same shoes. It's not just about a seat at a table. It's about what the absence of that seat says. We'd prefer the story without you in it. That night I couldn't sleep, so I walked into the garage. The place still smelled faintly of sawdust and oil. My old workbench stood quietly, lit by a single bulb overhead. I ran my fingers along the edge and felt the nicks from past projects: birdhouses, picture frames, a wooden jewelry box Grace had made with me one Father's Day. I opened a drawer and pulled out the original venue contract, the one signed years ago when I first invested. Silent partner, they called it. But the clause was there in black and white. All events subject to final review and revocation by majority ownership in the event of breach, misrepresentation, or moral conflict with proprietor values. It had been inserted by my lawyer, a careful old friend who believed no agreement was immune to future regret. I hadn't thought I'd ever need it. It was more like an umbrella in the trunk, useful only when the sky turned against you. Well, the sky had spoken. I read the clause 3 times, then I picked up the phone. "Wendy," I said when she answered. She was the general manager of the venue and had worked with me for years. A discreet, sharp woman with a fondness for silence. "Hi, Tom," she replied. Her tone was warm but cautious. "I need to execute a withdrawal," I said. There was a pause. "Is this about Grace's wedding?" "It is." Another pause. She didn't ask why. She didn't have to. "You understand what this will do," she said finally. "Yes. And that it'll come down on Amanda, not Grace, publicly." "I know," she sighed. "Then we'll prepare the notice. The contract gives us until 10:00 a.m. on the day of the event. If they haven't addressed the breach by then, we can cancel legally. I want it ready." "Understood." I hung up and sat very still. The thing is, I didn't want to ruin Grace's wedding. That's the part people would never understand. But some betrayals must be met with boundaries that leave a mark. If I had simply stayed silent, paid for the event, let them erase me, I would have taught them that erasure was cost-free, that it could be bought, that a father's love was just another check you could deposit without looking him in the eye, and I wouldn't let that lesson stand. The days rolled by, quietly. I didn't say anything. I let the final fittings happen, let the photo shoots continue, let the countdown buzz in Amanda's emails and Elaine's group chats, but I watched the deadline approach. Tick, 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 and I waited for the morning of the wedding. The morning everything would change. The sun rose quietly that Saturday as it always does, unaware of what humans plan beneath it. It had no knowledge of the floral arches being arranged or the chairs being draped in ivory ribbons. It had no opinion on forgiveness or betrayal or the brittle silence between a father and a daughter. The sun simply rose. I was awake before it, not out of excitement, not out of dread, but out of something older, older than resentment, older even than love. A kind of stillness that only arrives when you've carried something heavy for a long time and finally decide to set it down. The suit I chose was not new. It was the same one I wore to my father's funeral, dark charcoal, single-breasted, pressed by my own hand the night before. I buttoned it slowly, methodically, the way soldiers do when dressing for a war they didn't ask to fight. I looked at myself in the mirror, not for vanity but for confirmation. Yes, this is the man they excluded. This is the man who paid for the music and was asked not to dance. At 8:00 a.m. I brewed coffee. At 8:05 I stood by the window and watched two robins fight over a worm in the dewy grass. Life always finds a way to argue. At 8:45 Wendy texted me, standing by, all prepared. I replied simply, wait until the hour. If no call from them, proceed. We had given them every chance. The contract stipulated they had until 10:00 a.m. to address the breach, the removal of a primary benefactor from the guest list without notice on grounds that implied moral or aesthetic deficiency. The phrasing had been carefully chosen by lawyers years ago. Amanda had skimmed over it. Most people do. But some contracts aren't written for most people. They are written for the moment when someone forgets who really owns the roof. I knew what would happen at 10:01. The planner would receive the automated cancellation. So would the caterer, the florist, the valet company, the band, the photographer, and the local police in case of escalation. The venue would be locked. The entire event planned to perfection, filtered for Instagram, worthy of a feature in some bridal magazine, would collapse unless Grace called, unless Elaine called, unless someone, anyone, picked up the phone before the final hour and said, "This is wrong, come, be part of it. We were cruel, but we see it now." But no one did. At 9:15 I watched the clock. At 9:30 I opened the old wedding album from my marriage to Elaine. We had no professional photographer then, just disposable cameras and friends with steady hands. I flipped through the pages slowly. Elaine in a soft blue dress. Me in a thinner body holding her hand in a field behind her parents' house. Grace, still unborn, somewhere in our laughter. I wondered if she'd looked at this album lately, or if Amanda had made it disappear the way she made my chair disappear from the seating chart. At 9:47, planner emailed the final logistics. She mentioned the weather was cooperating beautifully. No rain, no delays, perfect light. At 9:55 I walked to the garage and unlocked the drawer where I kept my original investment documents. I laid them on the workbench like sacred texts, not because I needed proof, but because history deserves reverence, even painful history. At 9:59 my phone remained silent. No call, no text, nothing. And so at 10:00 a.m. sharp Wendy pressed send. The cancellation notice went out. The locks were changed. Security was instructed to allow no one in except authorized staff. The vendors were notified. The band was told to stand down. The power to the venue's sound system was disabled. The floral delivery truck was redirected to a local hospital for donation. By 10:04, Amanda was calling me. I didn't answer. By 10:06, Elaine texted, "What's happening?" By 10:10, Grace finally called. Her voice was breathless, panicked. "Dad, what did you do?" And for a moment I closed my eyes because I hadn't heard her voice in weeks, because she didn't say hello, because I was no longer Daddy. Just Dad, said like a question mark, like a problem. "I honored the contract," I said. "What?" "You removed me from my own daughter's wedding for appearances," I said, calm as winter. "You violated the agreement, so I canceled the agreement." There was silence, then tears, real ones, messy, raw. "You ruined everything," she whispered. "No," I said softly. "You did that when you decided I wasn't good enough to be seen next to you." More silence. Then the line went dead. I stood there a long while, the phone still in my hand. There's a kind of grief that doesn't come with crying. It just sits in your chest like smoke in an old chimney. No flames, just the memory of fire. I didn't cry that day, not because I didn't care, but because a father learns over time that there are tears meant for his pillow, not the world. And as the wedding guests were turned away and Amanda screamed into voicemails and the planner scrambled for alternatives, I sat in my quiet house with the album open on my lap, and I grieved. Not the wedding, not even the absence, but the knowledge that my daughter, my girl, had chosen image over blood, and that she had learned it from the woman who had replaced me. They say weddings are about love, but if you've lived long enough, you know the truth. Weddings are about power. Who's in the photo, who's left out, who pays, who gets thanked, who walks and who waits. Love is in there somewhere, yes, but it's the performance of love that people spend months rehearsing. And when love becomes theater, someone is always behind the curtain pulling the strings. That Saturday morning the curtain fell. By 10:30 a.m., the chaos was blooming like a time-lapse flower. The guests had begun to arrive. Some drove from 3 towns over, others flew in. They stepped out of rented cars and Ubers in designer shoes, clutched white gift bags, fixed their hair in rearview mirrors, smiled wide for Instagram stories, and were met with silence. No music, no open gates, just locked doors and a very polite security guard named Darren telling them the event had been canceled. Amanda arrived shortly after in full mother-of-the-bride regalia. Pale gold dress, stiff posture, white smile that had probably been rehearsed in front of 3 different mirrors. She was flanked by a pair of event planners who looked like they were about to cry. "Who canceled?" she demanded. Darren showed her the printed notice. She didn't recognize the legal name at the bottom, but she would soon. Phones buzzed, guests whispered. Some laughed nervously, assuming it was a prank. Others began calling the couple directly. Grace wasn't answering. Neither was the groom. They were still in the final stages of getting dressed, oblivious for a few more sacred minutes to the unraveling of their perfect day. Elaine, my ex-wife, showed up around 10:45. Unlike Amanda, she didn't scream. She just stood there quietly, scanning the empty courtyard. She'd always had that way about her, still water with deep currents, a woman who saved her rage for the silence after everyone else had burned out. She read the same cancellation notice, and she knew exactly who had done it. She didn't need to read the clause. She didn't need to call anyone. She simply sat down on a bench near the locked gates, folded her hands in her lap, and stared at the sky like someone watching the first leaf of autumn fall onto summer grass. Grace called again at 11:02. This time I answered. "Dad," she breathed, "how could you?" "No," I said gently, "how could you?" She didn't reply. I could hear her trying to breathe, trying to speak, trying to find a sentence that would make everything rewind. "I didn't want this," she whispered. But you didn't stop it. Everyone said, Amanda said it was better for the story. And what was my story, Grace? I asked. That I paid for the music and listened to it from the parking lot. That I bought the wine and watched strangers toast with it while I sat home. That I raised you, loved you, protected you, and then got cut from the program like a typo. Her voice broke. I didn't know it would go this far. It didn't have to, I said. She began to cry, real, aching, guilty tears, the kind of tears that aren't about loss but realization, the kind that arrive when the lie you've been sold finally cracks and the truth leaks in. "I'm sorry, Dad," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I should have fought harder." "Yes," I said quietly. "You should have." There was a long pause. Then she said something I'll never forget. "Can we fix this?" I exhaled long and slow. "Fixing things," I said, "doesn't mean pretending they didn't happen." Another silence. Then, "What do?" I thought for a moment. "You start by telling the truth," I said, "to yourself, to your husband, to your mother, and maybe one day to your kids, so they'll know what it costs to silence someone who loved you." "I want you there," she whispered. "No, Grace," I replied, not unkindly. "You wanted the version of me that didn't upset the image, the quiet wallet, the silent partner that's not a father, that's a sponsor." "I didn't mean it that way. But it ended that way." She wept harder. "I'm so ashamed." "You should be." I didn't say it with anger. I said it the way a doctor tells a patient the diagnosis, not to punish, but because the cure cannot begin without honesty. "I love you," I added. "That hasn't changed, but love isn't a hall pass, it's a door, and you closed it." We sat in silence together on the phone, not speaking, just being. The way people do when they realize they are both standing on opposite sides of a bridge they each thought the other would build. Eventually I said goodbye. I didn't hang up. I waited for her to. She did. And the silence that followed was different, not angry, not cold, just truthful, like the quiet after a storm, when the world is wet and ruined but no longer lying. That afternoon I drove to the ocean, not to reflect, just to feel something honest. Waves don't pretend, they rise and fall, they take and return. They carve the shore with no apology. I stood there for a long time, letting the wind slap my face like a mother waking a son too long asleep. And I knew for the first time in years that I had done something hard, but right. The days that followed were quiet. Not peaceful, not restful, but quiet in the way a house is after the last guest leaves. Chairs slightly askew, half-empty glasses still sweating on the counter, the scent of perfume clinging to the air. A silence that feels like something is still speaking but you can't quite hear it. The wedding did not happen, or at least not in the way they'd planned. Amanda tried, oh she tried to salvage it. She scrambled for backup venues, called in favors, demanded that someone take responsibility. But vendors don't rush to help someone who ignored the fine print. The best she could do was an emergency dinner at a boutique hotel downtown. They rearranged the centerpieces, shortened the guest list, and passed it off as a post-ceremony celebration. But no one danced. There was no music. Just awkward conversation and overpriced wine and guests murmuring things like, "I thought this was a wedding, and what happened to the ceremony?" No one had answers, not the kind they could say out loud. As for Grace and her husband, Thomas, a decent man caught in an indecent moment, they exchanged vows privately the next day. At a park under a tree with no audience except the breeze. I wasn't invited. But I heard from a cousin who lived nearby that Grace had looked radiant and Thomas had cried when he said her name. I don't know whether they'll stay married. I don't know if the story they build will include me or keep me in the footnotes. But I know this, they started that story without a lie at the center. And that matters. Elaine called a few days later, not to apologize. Elaine doesn't do apologies, she does accountability. Tom, she said, that was one hell of a move. I didn't respond. I won't say I agree with it, she added, but I understand it. That's enough, I replied. There was a pause. Then she's heartbroken. She'll live, I said. She says she wants to talk. She already did, I said, and left it there. Amanda, for her part, went silent. No texts, no calls, no public statements, but word traveled fast through the social circles she cared about. People whispered. Other mothers with curated lives and high-end veneers began to step away from her slowly, like one does when a perfume has turned sour. She lost a sponsorship deal for her blog. A venue partnership dissolved. Her image, so carefully polished, so ruthlessly protected, cracked. You see, when you build your reputation on appearances, you forget how loud the truth becomes when it finally decides to speak. And on that Saturday morning, the truth arrived in the form of locked gates and an empty altar. As for me, I went back to my routines. Coffee at 7, walk at 9, evenings with books that don't ask anything from me. But something had changed. Not something loud, something subtle. The way I stood a little straighter when I saw my reflection in the bakery window. The way I no longer braced for shame when someone asked, "Weren't you at the wedding?" Because the answer was simple now. No, I wasn't invited, but I still paid attention. One afternoon, nearly 2 weeks after the non-wedding, a small envelope arrived at my door. It was hand-addressed. No return label. Inside was a card. Thick, ivory stock, pressed floral border. The same kind of card that had once been meant for wedding invites. But this one had only 10 words, written in Grace's handwriting. "If I build something better, will you come back?" I read it twice, 3 times. Then I placed it on the counter, the one we sanded together all those years ago. I didn't write back. Not yet. Some things shouldn't be answered in ink. They should be answered in time, in patience, in watching whether the new house your child builds has a door with your name on it, not engraved, not demanded, but open. I left the card there, and every morning since I see it. A question waiting, a small hope, and maybe one day an invitation I can accept. The strange thing about being excluded isn't the absence itself. It's what rushes in to fill the space you left behind. In the days after the wedding that wasn't, I noticed how easily the world forgets a father who stops trying. The neighborhood didn't ask questions. A few old friends called, lightly probing, but I gave them the gentle brush off. "Oh, you know how families are," followed by a chuckle I didn't feel. People respect boundaries, but only when they don't make a mess. The truth was, I wasn't angry anymore. I was grieving. There's a difference. Anger burns. Grief cools everything to ash. I walked around the house more quietly than usual, as if not to disturb the ghosts that had taken up residence there. Not real ones, just memories, dressed in old t-shirts and prom dresses, walking the same hallways, laughing behind closed doors. Grace at 13, carrying cupcakes to school for her birthday. Grace at 16, practicing her vows for student council. Grace at 22, walking across a stage to take her diploma, turning to find me in the crowd with that half-smile that said, "I see you." And now, nothing, just silence, not from her, but of her. I didn't hear from Grace after the card, not for a week, not for 2. The card remained on the counter like a quiet lighthouse, flickering every time I passed it. "If I build something better, will you come back?" I didn't know. I wanted to say yes. But what she had broken wasn't a plate or a promise, it was presence. It was the idea that I mattered not as a provider, not as a silent shareholder, but as a father. A man with flaws and history and hands that had held her through 1,000 storms. When a child rewrites the story without you, it doesn't just erase your name, it rewrites your worth. And that takes time to recover from. One night around 11:00, phone rang. I almost didn't pick up, but something in me, a flicker, a rustle in the soul, reached for it. It was Grace. Her voice was soft, like she'd been crying or maybe just remembering how to speak without performance. "Hi, Dad, hi." Pause. I didn't know what to say. "So you said nothing." I was ashamed. "You should have been." Another pause. "I want to tell you something." I said nothing. She took a breath. "We've moved into a new place. A rental. Tiny, but it's ours. No curated photos. No Pinterest boards. Just a couch and 2 forks and a dog Thomas rescued. It smells like paint and hope." I smiled just a little. She had inherited my instinct for metaphor. Maybe some things survive betrayal. "I want to build something new," she said. "Really build it, not with Amanda's vision, not with curated guests, with truth, with family, if you're still willing." "I'm listening," I said. That was all I could offer, not forgiveness, not yet, but presence, and in that moment presence was enough. A week later she visited, alone. No Amanda, no Elaine, no husband, just Grace. She brought with her a pie from the same bakery we used to go to after church and a bouquet of flowers that looked like they'd been picked, not purchased. When she stepped into the house, she stopped. The air was thick with memory. She looked at the butcher block counter, the one we sanded, and ran her hand across it like she was reading Braille from another life. "I remember this," she said. "You let me use the sanding block even though I wasn't strong enough." "You wanted to learn," I said. She nodded. "I want to learn again." We sat at the table and shared the pie. She talked. I listened. Then I talked. She listened. No accusations, no correction, just story swapping between two people who'd lost the thread and wanted to pick it up again. At the end of the night, she asked a question that undid me. "Do you still have the picture of me in the blue dress?" I rose without a word, went to my study and pulled the photo from the drawer. It was faded, edges soft with time. Her age 7 in a dress that matched the sky, spinning in circles, laughing. I handed it to her. She held it like a relic. And then, tears welling, she said, "I want to be the kind of daughter who remembers this version of us." And I finally cried, not from pain, but because, for the first time in weeks, I believed her. We said goodbye at the door. No big promises, no sweeping gestures, just a quiet understanding that something had shifted. Grace had begun the work, not of rebuilding her wedding day, but of rebuilding us. It wouldn't be quick, it wouldn't be clean, but it would be honest. And after everything, that was the only ceremony that mattered. There's a part of every parent's heart that stays under construction, scaffolding left up long after the child has grown. Not because the work was never finished, but because the door is never truly closed. You build a room for them, then another, then a hallway in case they need to come back. And one day, if you're lucky, they do. Grace came by again the next Sunday. No fanfare, no announcement, just the sound of her car crunching softly into the gravel driveway. I was trimming the hedges out front. I pretended not to notice her at first. She pretended I wasn't watching from the corner of my eye. She got out of the car carrying a brown paper bag and 2 cups of coffee. "I brought breakfast," she said, like it was something we always did. I nodded. "You remembered I like mine black." She smiled, sheepish. "I remembered a lot of things." We sat on the back porch. The late summer breeze had just begun to hint at fall, air that felt both warm and watchful. We ate quietly, a croissant each. a small container of jam that she'd stolen from the cafe counter. "I used to take those when I was little," she said, smirking. "You always told me to ask first. You never listened." She looked at me. "I'm listening now." That landed, not like a line rehearsed, but like a truth rediscovered. Grace pulled something from her bag, a folder. "I want to show you something." Inside were sketches, plans, hand-drawn, messy, hopeful. "We want to open a small shop," she said. "Me and Thomas, not some influencer thing, just a place that's ours. Coffee, baked goods, local artists. Maybe even a bookshelf with old classics, books you'd like." I turned the sketches over one by one. There was charm in them, naivety too, but the kind that only exists when a person dares to dream without shame. "And," I asked, "and I want you to help, not with money, with advice. With your eye, you know how to build things, real things. I know I can do this, but I don't want to do it without you." It was the first time she had ever said something like that and meant every word. Not obligation, not guilt, not damage control, but invitation. I didn't answer right away. She didn't rush me. That was new. Instead, she looked out at the yard, at the tools I'd left neatly stacked by the shed. "You always said nothing's ever truly broken, just waiting to be made useful again." I said that. "Yeah, I used to hate it." We laughed. And then I said, "Okay." She looked at me. "Okay, I'll help you build it, but this time we start with the foundation." She nodded, and I could see it through the guilt and the sorrow and the shadows. She was still that little girl who wanted to hold the sanding block with both hands. We spent the next few weeks meeting up, sometimes here at the house, sometimes at their new space, an old, forgotten storefront on the edge of town with peeling paint and windows that hadn't known sunlight in years. But she saw potential, and to my surprise, so did I. We patched drywall, ripped out warped floorboards, replaced old plumbing, and laughed at the ancient groaning pipes. We disagreed, too. She wanted hanging lights that I thought were impractical. I suggested reclaimed wood counters she said felt too rustic. But every disagreement ended with laughter, because the work was real. The walls didn't lie, and in between layers of dust and fresh paint we spoke, not just about the shop, but about that day, the wedding, the hurt, the silence. "I was trying to be someone I thought people would admire," she admitted once while sanding a shelf. "I forgot that the only person I ever wanted to admire me was already in the room." It cracked something open in me, not pain, but relief. The kind of relief you feel when a wound finally stops aching and just becomes a scar. People in town started to notice. "Is that your daughter?" they'd ask, watching us lug in wood and paint cans. I'd nod. "She's got your eyes. She's got her mother's stubbornness. She's got something good in her." And she did, not perfection, not polish, but character, the kind that gets tested and still stands. One evening, long after the sun had gone down, we sat on the curb outside the shop. The sign wasn't up yet. The walls still smelled like primer, but it was ours. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I know I can't take it back," she said. "No," I replied, "but I can make something better." Yes, and that was enough, not because the past was erased, but because the future was being written in a language we both finally understood. The story of a father and a daughter doesn't end at the altar. Sometimes it begins at a demolition site, with sawdust in the air and hope in the walls. Autumn came, not suddenly but in slow confessions. The trees began shedding their pride, the morning air carried a polite chill, and the light, so golden in summer, took on a quieter shade. The town shifted with it. Tourists left. Cafes swapped lemonade for cider. And our little project, the shop with no name yet, began to feel like something real. Grace and Thomas came by most evenings after their day jobs, covered in sawdust and paint flecks. They brought ideas, energy, and sometimes dinner in paper bags. I brought patience, tools, and experience, and most nights we met somewhere in the middle of exhaustion and contentment. One evening, Thomas stayed behind after Grace left early. We were finishing up a cabinet install in the back. He stood there a long time before speaking. "I owe you an apology," he said. "I didn't respond. I kept driving the last screw into place. I should have stepped in. Should have asked why you weren't on the guest list. But I let the planning take over. I let Amanda and Elaine make the decisions, thinking it would keep the peace." I stood up, brushed the sawdust from my knees, and looked him in the eye. "You married Grace," I said. "You didn't marry perfect." He nodded, embarrassed. "No, sir, I married honest." "Then build that with her and keep building. It's harder than planning a wedding." He smiled. "That's what she says." We shook hands, and I saw in him not a replacement son, not someone to fill the space left by the past, but a partner in the future Grace was trying to build. That was enough. One afternoon, Grace surprised me with a gift. It was a hand-carved wooden sign. She had made it in secret with help from a local artisan. On it, burned into the grain, were the words, "The Counter, ESD 2025, below it in smaller letters, inspired by the place where stories began and were made right again. I ran my fingers over the lettering. "The Counter," I said. "Because of the butcher block." She nodded. "That's where we always came back to," she said. "To talk, to fix things, to eat, to argue, to laugh. That counter raised me as much as you did." I smiled. It wasn't just a name. It was an answer to a question I hadn't dared to ask. Does she remember where she came from? She did. And now, she wanted others to know it too. Opening day came quietly. No ribbon-cutting ceremony. No press releases or social media blitzes. Just the shop, the sign, the smell of fresh bread, and a bell above the door that chimed with an old-world charm. The town came. Not in droves, but in the right numbers. Locals, friends, curious passers-by, a few teachers who had known Grace since she was small. One man, nearly blind, came in just because he smelled cinnamon and said it reminded him of 1958. Grace handled it with grace. Thomas poured the coffee. I stayed behind the counter, and watched. They didn't introduce me as an investor or a silent partner. They introduced me simply. "This is my dad, the reason this place even exists." No cameras, no applause, just a sentence that put my name back in the story where it belonged. Later that night, after the last customer had gone and the lights dimmed, Grace and I sat at one of the corner tables. The window showed our reflections, older, humbler, but still unmistakably tied. "Do you think we're good?" she asked. I looked at her. "Better than good," I said. "We're real." She smiled. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. "I want you to have this." Inside was a new deed document, ownership of the building. She had transferred partial title back to me. "I can't take this," I said. "You already did," she said. "When you taught me that being left out doesn't mean being erased. That money doesn't buy love, but boundaries protect it." I read the paper again. My name there in ink. Not because I demanded it, but because she chose it. We locked up together that night. The air was crisp. The sky was clear. The shop looked warm from the outside. As we walked to our cars, she asked, "Would you ever do it again, cancel it, if you knew it would lead here?" I didn't answer right away. I looked at the shop, the sign, the girl beside me who had once spun in a blue dress and who now held the keys to a place built on truth. And then I said, "No, I wouldn't want to, but I would, because sometimes the only way back is through the storm." She nodded, And we parted with a hug that wasn't about obligation but restoration. Fathers aren't always heroes. We're not always easy to love. We carry our pride like old coats, stubborn, heavy, full of memory. But if you look closely, you'll see the pockets are full of nails, glue, and instructions. We don't build grand speeches. We build bridges, counters, shops, second chances, and if we're lucky, we get to see our children walk back across them. The internet still has the photos. Amanda's carefully staged post-wedding brunch pictures, smiles strained but present, her arm clamped tightly around Grace's waist, floral arrangements salvaged from the original delivery. If you didn't know better, you'd believe it was the perfect day. But perfection is always quiet about its cracks. What those photos don't show, what they can't show, are the things that actually matter. They don't show Amanda's voice rising to a frantic pitch when the venue was locked, or the way guests began peeling off, one by one, muttering into phones and purses. They don't show the moment Grace stepped into her gown and realized the ceremony wasn't happening. They don't show Elaine sitting alone in her car, hands gripping the steering wheel, realizing she had protected the idea of a family instead of the truth of it. And they don't show me, the man who had paid for it all, the man who had been erased, the man who had drawn the line. No filter can frame that in soft light, but somewhere deeper beneath the hashtags and apologies and how are you holding up texts, a new story was quietly being written. Grace came by on a Tuesday, not to talk, to work. She wore paint-streaked jeans and no makeup, and her hair was tied up the way it used to be when we gardened on weekends. Inventory, she said, holding up a clipboard, and repairs. The back shelf collapsed again. We got to it. As we worked, she told me about a woman who came into the shop that morning. Elderly, quiet, bought a muffin, stayed for 3 hours reading a book at the window. She said it was the first time in weeks she felt at peace. Grace said, "That's the whole business plan right there," I replied. She nodded. "Yeah, we're not selling pastries, we're selling a place to breathe." That line stayed with me, because for the first time in a long time I realized I was breathing easier too. No tension in my jaw, no heaviness in my chest, no silent calculations about how to be tolerated without being seen. In the shop with Grace, I was just dad, not problematic, not off-brand, not in the way. And for the first time since the wedding debacle, I felt seen, not as a transaction, but as a person. That weekend, we held our first community night. Just string lights, folding chairs, a table of cookies and coffee. A local guitarist played soft jazz. A few people from town read poems. One teenager recited something shaky but beautiful about missing his mother. And when there was a pause in the evening, Grace stepped forward and tapped her mug with a spoon. "I want to say something," she said. The crowd hushed. I used to think weddings were the most important chapter in a family story. Now I know it's the pages after the pictures, the ones no one frames, that really tell you who's in your life and who was just in the photos. She looked at me, held the moment. This shop exists because of someone who wasn't in my wedding pictures, but who never stopped showing up, who reminded me that love with boundaries is still love, maybe the truest kind. She raised her mug to second chances and the people who are still standing after the curtains fall. They clapped. I didn't. I couldn't. My hands were too full of something heavier than applause, acceptance. I nodded. That was enough. A few days later, Amanda called, for the first time since the wedding. She left a voicemail, just 10 seconds. "Tom, I know you probably won't answer. I just wanted to say you made your point, and maybe it was overdue." Click. No apology, but I didn't need one. Her approval had once meant too much to me. Now it meant nothing at all. Growth is sometimes measured in how quickly you stop needing permission from the people who hurt you. I kept the voicemail, not to listen to, but as a reminder that even the loudest voices in your life can become background noise once you tune them out. Grace and I kept building, not just shelves and menus and a newsletter, but a rhythm, a closeness, one made of splinters and shared coffee and short, honest sentences that don't need to be polished for guests. We didn't talk about the wedding anymore, not because it didn't matter, but because it no longer defined us. Like a scar that fades, it was still there, but it didn't ache. Some families are built in big houses with fancy staircases and oil paintings. Ours was rebuilt on a butcher block counter between a daughter who forgot and a father who refused to disappear. That's not a photo you can post online, but it's the one I carry with me every day, right here, where it matters most. Fall deepened. The leaves let go of their branches with the kind of grace I used to envy, quiet, unapologetic, inevitable. I watched them fall from the shop window some mornings, coffee in hand, the smell of fresh pastries mixing with crisp air and memory. Grace was humming more lately, not to be heard, just because something inside her was light again. We didn't talk much about the past anymore. Not directly, but it lingered in the way we worked together. How we didn't tiptoe around each other's moods anymore. How we both said what we meant without flinching. That's the funny thing about rebuilding a relationship. It doesn't begin with forgiveness. It begins with truth. And then only after the dust settles does forgiveness start to take shape. Not as a dramatic declaration, but as a quiet decision made again and again. One morning, while organizing the storage closet in the back, I found a box labeled wedding. It wasn't mine, it wasn't Grace's, it was Amanda's. Grace had taken it, maybe in haste, maybe in confusion after everything fell apart. Inside, programs that were never handed out, menus that never saw a table, a framed print that read, "Welcome to the beginning of forever." I turned it over. On the back, in Amanda's handwriting, "Perfect is the only story worth telling." There it was, the root of it all, the sentence that burned everything down. Later that day, I showed it to Grace. She read it, sat with it, and then without a word she walked out to the dumpster behind the shop and threw the frame away. Not with anger, just with finality. When she came back in, she said, "That's not the story I want to tell anymore." I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. That weekend, Elaine stopped by. She hadn't been in the shop before, not since it opened. She came in during a quiet hour just after lunch when the tables were half full and the jazz playlist was playing something lazy and soft. Grace saw her first. I watched from behind the counter as mother and daughter locked eyes. They hugged, briefly. Elaine looked around, her arms crossed the way she always did when she was unsure of her place. "It's nice," she said, "really nice." Grace smiled. "Thank you." Elaine turned to me. "Tom." I nodded. "Elaine." She cleared her throat. "You always said she had your stubbornness." I half smiled. "And your timing." She laughed. And for the first time in years it didn't sound bitter, just tired. The kind of tired that says we made mistakes, but we're still standing. We shared a cup of coffee, small talk, weather, town gossip, nothing too deep. That would come later if it came at all. When she left, she touched my shoulder. It wasn't an apology, but it didn't need to be. Some fences get rebuilt one board at a time. That night, Grace asked me something over closing duties. "Do you forgive her?" It took me a while to answer. "I don't know," I said finally. "I don't know if I forgive Amanda. I don't even know if I need to. She was never mine to hold anything against." Grace leaned against the counter. "But she hurt you." Yes, but she's also not my story anymore. That's the difference. Forgiveness doesn't always mean welcoming someone back in. Sometimes it just means letting go of the weight. She was quiet a long time, then said, I think I understand now. The shop kept growing. A new chalkboard menu, a rotating display of local poetry, a bookshelf filled with stories from people who'd made their own quiet comebacks. People started saying things like, there's something different about this place, it feels grounded. And I'd smile because that's exactly what it was. Not flashy, not curated, just grounded, built not on performance, but on presence. I still think about the wedding sometimes, not with bitterness, just with perspective. A moment that hurt deeply, but also revealed the fault lines we'd ignored for years. And in the fallout, we found a better foundation, not perfect, but real, the kind you can build a life on. And that, I've learned, is more than enough. Winter arrived like a letter with no return address, uninvited, early, and cold enough to wake up the bones. Snow fell lightly at first, then steadily, until the sidewalks were silent and white, and the breath from every passerby looked like secrets being spoken into the cold. The shop adjusted. Grace brought in space heaters. Thomas learned how to make cinnamon clove lattes. We stocked extra blankets near the reading nook and added a pay-what-you-can option for anyone who came in looking more tired than hungry. It wasn't just a coffee shop anymore. It was a place people came to feel okay again. And in that small, humble place, I watched my daughter become someone I didn't just love, but admired. One morning, as the wind howled outside and the sky hung low with clouds, Grace and I sat across from each other during the quiet hour after the morning rush. She had her notebook out, not the one for orders or inventory, the one for dreams. I've been thinking, she said, twirling her pen slowly, about upstairs. The building had a second story, empty for years, dusty, forgotten, just old hardwood floors and crooked windows with chipped sills. I had always thought of it as storage space, but Grace saw more. A community room, she said. Writing workshops, small concerts, book clubs, a place for people to gather when they don't know where else to go. I leaned back. You're starting to sound like me. She grinned. You say that like it's a bad thing. It's a heavy thing. She paused, then I'm ready to carry it. I believed her. We started renovations that weekend. Just the two of us. No contractors, no timelines. Just hours of dust hammering, creaking wood, and quiet conversation between walls that had waited years to matter again. And something funny happened in the process. We didn't just build a room. We built back the parts of ourselves we'd once handed over too easily to other people's ideas of what a family should look like. I remember one day in particular, mid-January, after a heavy snow. We were clearing out old furniture from the attic space, hauling it down the narrow staircase, when Grace found an antique mirror behind a canvas tarp. It was tall, cracked on one edge. The kind of thing people throw away without a second thought, but Grace didn't. She stood in front of it, brushing the dust away slowly, looking at her reflection. Then she looked at me. "Do you see her?" she asked. "Who?" "The girl who didn't invite you to her wedding." I hesitated, but then I looked in the mirror beside her and I didn't see that girl anymore. I saw a woman who had worked every day since then to choose truth over comfort, to build instead of pretend. "I see someone better," I said. She smiled, but I saw the tears gather before she turned away, and I let them fall without comment. Some tears deserve silence more than consolation. By February, the second floor was ready. The first event was a free music night, Just a few chairs, a borrowed keyboard, some candles in mason jars. But people came. They listened. They stayed after. They asked when the next one would be. And Grace, glowing with sweat and gratitude, looked at me and said, "This is better than the wedding." I knew what she meant. The wedding had been about image. This was about intimacy. People didn't come to be impressed. They came to be included. And that was the legacy she had started to build. Amanda never visited the shop. She never called again either. But one afternoon I received a package. No note, no explanation, just an envelope containing the original wedding invitation. The one that never included my name. But this time someone had written on the back of it 4 words. "You were always there." It wasn't enough, but it was something. I kept that invitation in my coat pocket for weeks, not to carry anger, but to remember what it cost us all to learn that love without presence is just performance, and what a gift it is to be invited back into the life you once paid for in silence. We kept working, we kept growing, we kept showing up, not because it was easy, but because it was earned. Every table wiped down at closing. Every snow shoveled from the steps, every new name added to the customer board. It was all a part of our rebuild. And this time, no one was left out of the frame. Some people say time heals all wounds, but that's not quite true. Work does. Honest work. Work of the heart. Work of the hands. Work that says, "I will not disappear just because you forgot how to see me." March brought longer light. Not warmth, not yet, but hope. The kind of daylight that lingers a little longer each evening, as if reminding us that the cold cannot stay forever. Grace had started waking up earlier. She'd open the shop some mornings before I even arrived. I'd walk in to find her already at the counter, apron dusted in flour, music playing low, the soft thump of bread dough being shaped by hand. She didn't always notice me at first, and I never interrupted, because there was something holy about watching her become not someone new but someone more true to herself. One morning she called me over to the table by the window. 2 mugs were already set down, steaming. "I've been thinking," she said. I smiled. Dangerous words. She ignored me. "We should write it down, the whole story." "Our story?" I asked. She nodded. "Not the wedding, the rebuild, the shop, us. Everything we had to learn the hard way." I raised an eyebrow. "You think anyone wants to read that?" "Maybe not now," she said, "but one day someone will, a daughter, a father, someone standing at the edge of silence, wondering if it's worth rebuilding the bridge." That quieted me, because I had once stood at that edge myself. She pulled out a journal. The first page was blank. She slid it across to me. "You start," she said. "You're the one who was left out." I looked at the page, the clean whiteness of it, the dare of it, and I wrote. They didn't save me a seat at the wedding, so I made sure there was a table where no one would be left standing. She read it, nodded, then smiled. "That's the opening line." We wrote a little each week, not much, just pieces, her memories, my truths, our missteps and slow forgiveness. We didn't call it a book. We called it what it was, a record. Of the things we built. Of the love that didn't collapse even when the scaffolding did. One Sunday, a customer stopped me at the door. She was older, white hair pulled back neatly, hands gnarled from work or arthritis or both. "You're Grace's father, aren't you?" she asked. "I am." "I just want you to know," she said, "this place saved me." I blinked. "I come here every Thursday, sit by the heater, read a little, cry a little. Nobody stares. Nobody asks me to move along. It's like the place was built with permission in the walls." I looked at her. I didn't know what to say, so I simply said, "That's what we hoped for." She touched my arm gently. "Then you succeeded." That night I told Grace what the woman had said. She didn't react like she used to, no performance, no dramatics, just a long breath in. And then that makes it worth it. Not the shop, not the applause, but the repair, the proof that broken things, when mended with care, are often stronger than before. April came. The trees returned to bloom like they had never been bare. And one afternoon, Grace brought over an old photo album. Not the wedding, not even childhood, older, the years in between, vacations we took after the divorce, pizza nights. The Halloween she insisted on dressing as a lion and wouldn't take off the costume for a week. She pointed to one photo, her, age 11, sitting on the old counter, paint on her nose, holding a hammer that was too big for her hand. "You look exhausted in this one," she said, teasing. I smiled. "I was teaching you how to fix a cabinet. You weren't interested in the cabinet." She laughed. "I just wanted to break things and rebuild them." "Still do." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm glad you made me stop the breaking." I didn't reply. Some truths don't need an answer, just presence. That night we added a new sign outside the shop. It wasn't fancy, just carved wood, aged, hand-painted. It read, "The Counter, a place for second chances." No subtitle, no explanation, just the truth. In time, more people came. People who'd heard whispers, not of revenge, not of drama, but of a quiet little shop where a daughter found her father again, where anger turned to bread, where silence turned into music, where one canceled wedding gave birth to 100 small moments that mattered more. We didn't erase the past. We made it useful. We turned it into shelves, into stories, into something that could hold weight. And in that, I found peace. Not from being invited to the wedding, but from being present in the life that came after it. Late spring brought with it a kind of warmth that didn't just touch your skin, it touched your memory. The air smelled like forgiveness, like grass finally growing where frost had once been, like something once abandoned beginning to bloom again. And one afternoon under that forgiving sky, Grace came to me with an idea. "I want to do it again," she said. I paused. "Do what?" She smiled shyly. "A wedding." I raised an eyebrow. "Not a redo," she said quickly, reading my hesitation. "Not for the pictures, not for Amanda, not for the internet." "Then for what?" "For us, for the people who were left out, for the parts that were never honored." She handed me a handwritten list. At the top, guests who showed up for my heart, not just my image. Below it were names, friends, neighbors, a few shop regulars, and near the very top, Dad, just Dad, no silent partner, no donor, no footnote. "Will you walk me down the aisle?" she asked. I looked at her for a long moment. "I thought you already got married." "I did," she said, "but I didn't bring my family with me." There were no tears in her voice, only clarity, and a kind of courage that only comes from facing the ugliest parts of your own story and choosing to rewrite the ending. We planned it together. Nothing elaborate. A clearing behind the shop. Homemade decorations. String lights borrowed from neighbors. A local guitarist. A new dress, simple, soft, chosen not for photos but for comfort. Thomas agreed instantly. "I married her once," he said, "but now I get to marry her whole." I liked him more in that moment than I ever had before. On the day of the wedding, the sun broke through clouds like a promise kept. There were folding chairs, wildflowers in mason jars, and pie instead of cake because Grace said life should be sweet but not overly polished. She stood at the end of the makeshift aisle in a dress that didn't try too hard and a smile that didn't hide anything. And this time when she reached for someone's arm, she reached for mine. "Ready?" I whispered. She nodded. I was born ready. I just forgot for a while. We walked slowly, not because of formality, but because we had earned this pace. Step by step, through silence, through missteps, through a door that had once been closed and was now wide open. Thomas waited under a tree wrapped in fairy lights, the same tree we'd planted out back the year before. Grace took his hands. She didn't read a script this time, no rehearsed vows, no fluff. She just said, "Thank you for waiting for the version of me that knew who she was, and thank you for letting me bring my father with me this time." The crowd clapped. I didn't. Again, my hands were too full, with pride, with awe, with something like healing. At the reception, I gave a toast. "No paper, just memory," I said. "They say a father gives his daughter away on her wedding day. But sometimes, if you're lucky, she finds her way back. Not as a child, not as a bride, but as a woman who chooses her roots as deliberately as she chooses her future. Grace, you didn't just come back to me. You brought yourself with you this time, and I've never been more honored." She cried. Everyone cried, and Amanda, she wasn't there, not by exclusion, but by absence. Some people don't return when the truth finally shows up. That's not cruelty, it's clarity. We danced that evening. Not the father-daughter dance that had once been denied, but the one that had always been waiting. A slow, awkward sway under paper lanterns and a lilac sky. No cameras, no instructions, just her head on my shoulder, and my heart finally fully at peace. That night, as we cleaned up, Grace pulled me aside. "I kept the original guest book," she said. "The one from the wedding. The one that didn't happen," she clarified. She opened it. Most of the pages were blank, except one. At the very back, my name, in her handwriting, written after everything fell apart. "He was always meant to be here. Some weddings are perfect. Ours was honest. And that, I've learned, is the only kind that lasts. After the second wedding, the real one, the one where nothing was curated and everything was felt, we returned to life not as it was, but as it had become. Simpler, quieter, better. The shop ran smoothly. The upstairs community room filled with laughter some nights and tears on others. Poems were written. Secrets were whispered. Friendships formed like moss, slowly, steadily, without anyone realizing how much they needed them until they looked down and saw they'd been softened. Grace and I worked side by side most days. She handled the heart. I handled the hinges. It was a rhythm built on trust, not obligation. One afternoon, Grace came to me with another idea. "We need a new table," she said. "A what?" "A long table, no head, no seat of honor, something for the community nights. Round, no, long, narrow enough to feel close, wide enough for bread and stories." I smiled. "Wood or metal?" "Wood," she said without hesitation. "Something with scars." I knew what she meant. She wanted a table like us. We spent 2 weekends building it. Used reclaimed oak from a barn 3 towns over. The beams were rough, imperfect. Some had initials carved into them from who knows when. J+L88, a heart, a strange little fish. Grace wanted to leave the marks intact. "Every table should remember things," she said. We didn't sand it smooth, oiled it just enough to keep it honest. On the first night it was used, something remarkable happened. A man in his 70s sat beside a girl barely 20. Neither of them looked up at first. They just sipped tea. But then someone read a line from a book, something about fathers and fences, and the girl said, almost involuntarily, "I never knew mine." The man said, "I was one. Once." And just like that, a conversation began. By the end of the night, they were laughing, not healing, not solving, just existing together. That's what the table did. It didn't fix anything. It made space for what wanted to grow. Grace called it the table with no head. "No one leads, no one performs, we all just arrive," she explained. We carved those words under the lip of the wood, barely visible. No one leads, we just arrive. And I thought, isn't that what we all want? a place we don't have to earn, a chair we don't have to fight for, a seat that isn't granted through perfection, but through presence. Some time later, I found myself alone in the shop after close. The chairs were stacked, the lights were low, and I walked to that table, our table, and sat at the middle, not the head. I thought about all the tables I hadn't been invited to, the weddings, the photos, the glossy stories polished for applause, and I thought about this one, this long, scarred, uneven table where people had cried and laughed and come undone over coffee and broken bread. This table would never be on the cover of a magazine, but it was mine, ours, and no one here had ever been left out. A knock on the window startled me. "Grace," she waved, holding 2 paper bags of food. "I figured you were still here," she said as I let her in. We sat, we unwrapped sandwiches. We didn't say much, but halfway through her meal she asked, "Do you miss the big moments?" "The wedding?" I asked. "No, the firsts, the graduations, the holidays when we weren't talking." I thought about it. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but they weren't really ours, were they?" She shook her head. "No, they belonged to what people expected of us. And this belongs to what we chose." And there it was again, that steady grace I'd come to know in her, not perfection, not apology, but choice. She chose me, again and again, not out of duty, out of truth. As we finished dinner, she reached into her bag, pulled out a small box, inside a key. "To the shop?" I asked. "No," she said. "To the house, the new one." She paused. "There's a guest room, it's yours for whenever, for anything, no schedule, no permission needed, you're just part of the home." I held the key, felt the weight of it. It was more than metal, it was restoration. It was welcome, not as a guest, but as a father. We locked up the shop, stepped into the cool night. And for once I didn't feel like I was walking home alone, because I wasn't. Not long after Grace gave me the key to her home, I found myself walking through her front door without knocking. Not out of entitlement, but ease. She had made it clear, "You belong here." And when someone finally gives you a place after years of being invisible, you don't knock, you arrive. The house was warm, lived in, a little messy in the corners. The kind of mess that only comes from love taking up space. Half-finished puzzles on the table, a sock under the couch, a dog lazy and loyal lifting his head to nod at me before returning to sleep. Grace was in the kitchen, humming. Thomas was folding laundry. No one paused to perform. They just smiled and said, "Hey, Dad," and handed me a cup of tea like I'd never been gone. And maybe, in a way, I hadn't. Maybe presence isn't about uninterrupted time, but about returning when it matters most. That spring, Grace spoke at a local women's retreat. She had been invited by one of our regulars who said, "People need to hear how you rebuilt." She was nervous, not about being seen, but about being believed. "Do you think it's okay to tell the truth?" she asked me the night before. "The kind that makes people uncomfortable." I nodded. "It's the only kind worth telling," I said. She stood in front of 50 women that Saturday, most strangers, all watching. She didn't talk about her business plan. She didn't talk about coffee or revenue or marketing. She talked about shame, about the wedding, about how she cut her father out of her life to preserve an image that didn't include the person who had built her foundation. And then she said, "I didn't know how much damage I'd done until I walked into a room full of people and realized the one person I most wanted to see wasn't there, not because he didn't love me, but because I had removed the space where he was allowed to exist." There were tears in that room, but more than that, there was recognition. And when she finished, when the applause came, not loud but honest, she looked for me in the back of the room. I was there. I always would be now. Afterward, a woman approached us. She looked to be in her 60s, Silver hair, strong hands, a voice like gravel softened by age. "I have 2 sons," she said, "and I haven't spoken to one of them in 8 years. I blamed him for a divorce I couldn't grieve. He didn't come to the second wedding. I told myself he chose absence, but maybe I chose it first." She turned to me. "You're lucky." I shook my head. "No," I said. "We're both lucky because we chose to stop pretending absence was easier than honesty." That moment stayed with Grace. She began writing again. This time not just our story, but the stories of others who had returned to the people they once pushed away. Fathers, mothers, siblings, old friends. She called it the welcome table, a collection of voices who'd been written out of someone's life, until someone found the courage to write them back in. One day she asked if I'd write the foreword. I sat at the same counter where we had rebuilt everything, opened a new notebook and wrote, "This is a book about what it means to be forgotten, and what it takes to be remembered, not with guilt, but with grace." She kept that line as the opening. She said it was the most honest thing anyone had ever written about her. We launched the book at the shop. Small crowd, big meaning. She read passages aloud. I stood in the back where I used to feel most invisible, and this time everyone turned to look at me when she read my name, not with pity, with understanding. One woman hugged me and said, "You made silence visible. That's not easy." Another whispered, "I haven't spoken to my father in 15 years. I think I'm going to call him." And that's when I realized the absence they had forced me into, it became something bigger. It became a blueprint, a lesson, a legacy, not of revenge, not even of justice, but of boundaries that turned into bridges, of love that stopped begging to be included and instead invited others to return. I went home that night and sat in my chair, the one Grace bought for me after I refused to take the old one from her wedding registry. I held the book in my lap, flipped to the last page. There in her own handwriting, this story began with an empty seat. It ends with a table full of light. "Dad, this is yours as much as it is mine." And that was it. Not closure, but continuation. A wound that no longer bled but breathed. A father who had once been removed from the wedding, now written forever into the life that followed. It's funny in the end how little we need to feel whole. Not applause, not an invitation embossed in gold foil, not even a seat at the head table. Sometimes all it takes is to be seen, really seen, not as the man who signed the checks, not as the name they edited out of the guest list, but as the father who stayed through the silence, stayed through the storm, stayed even when leaving would have been easier. Years passed. The shop grew. Slowly, steadily, like something built with both hands and both hearts. Grace and Thomas opened a second location in the next town over, still called the Counter, still no head table, still a place where people gathered not to impress but to connect. The original shop became known as the one that started it all. Every so often, a stranger would come in, look around, and say, "This is the place from the book, right?" And I'd nod quietly from my usual stool near the window, not because I needed the credit, but because I was there. Grace had a daughter. She named her June, not because of the wedding that never happened, but because June was the month everything changed. The month the truth came out. The month we began again. They asked me to be the first person to hold her outside the delivery room. She was tiny, pink and loud, fists clenched like she'd come ready to fight. I held her close, my hands trembling more than they used to, and Grace whispered in my ear, "She'll never have to wonder who you are." When June turned 2, she started following me around the shop, dragging a small wooden stool behind her like a crown. She'd plop down beside me, bang on the table, then look up and say, "Story." So I'd tell one, not about weddings, not about contracts, but about sanded countertops and paint-streaked aprons and long tables with no head. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. She'd nod sagely like a judge in a much smaller robe, then offer me a bite of her cookie and say, "You stay here." And I would, gladly. One night, long after closing, Grace and I sat together in the quiet again, just like we had all those years ago when the pain was fresh and the floor still smelled of sawdust. She looked older now. So did I. But the distance between us had never been shorter. We never did get a family portrait. As she said, I shrugged. We didn't need one. She tilted her head. Why not? I looked around. At the walls we built, at the shelf with the books, at the photo of June sticky taped to the cash register, at the long, beautiful table scarred with joy. Because everything we made, I said, is the portrait. She smiled and whispered, "Still, let's take one just for us." So we did. No flash, no matching outfits, just me, Grace, Thomas, and June, sitting on the front steps of the counter, arms around each other. Laughter frozen midair. No one posed. No one cropped, just presence. That photo hangs by the front door now. The frame is crooked. June occasionally draws on the glass with markers. And sometimes when new customers ask, "Who's that?" Grace just says, "That's my dad, the one I almost forgot and will never forget again." So no, I never got a seat at the wedding, but I got a place in the life that mattered. And if you ask me, that's the only seat I ever truly needed.